Welcome. Good evening, good morning, GM, etc. This is another stream, one that we love to do. I have two great guests. I'll give a tiny bit of background on this before saying hi to Val and Kong. About, I think, 3 months ago, we started a partnership with the great people from TRBE, a Web3 marketing KOL company. And we're always out to provide value for people beyond just the partnership. So we'll talk a little bit about the grant that comes with that later. But we also want to provide education and value in other ways. And so we did first a space. Second, we did like a little master class on some other topics, but we want to keep the conversation going. And this time also bring in some of the KOLs themselves, talk about how to actually build a community, how to drive value, how to turn community members into users of a platform or product, how to turn these users into paying customers, because there's a lot that goes with it and into it, and a lot of thought and a lot of great strategies. So that's what this little live stream is going to be about. It is interactive. We're looking at the chat. So if you have questions throughout or comments, let us know. If you want to let us know where you're tuning in from, that'd be fun to know. Just say hi in the chat. But with that tiny intro, I'm very pleased to welcome two great guests. Val is the CMO of TRBE. How are you doing, Val?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. How about you, Lucas?
I'm doing okay, but much better now. Kong, how are you? Where are you joining?
I'm also very, very good. I'm tuning in from Dubai right now. So yeah, kind of sweaty at the moment.
Oh yeah, what's the temperature right now?
Like cozy 40 degrees.
That's why you stay inside. Never
Yeah.
go outside. In Dubai, I've interesting city. Maybe we'll talk about it, but it's a very different topic. Okay, so what's going to happen? Just to give you a quick agenda for the space is I'm going to toss it to Val for a little master class, a little presentation on the psychology of communities and all of that. Val went all the way to school and college for this and is bringing the knowledge back to us. And then we'll jump into a conversation. We'll keep it to maximum an hour. Just short, rapid insights from people who have done this and worked in this space for quite a bit. And then we'll answer some questions, have a conversation, and do that. So without further ado, Val, I will toss it to you. I think I will do the honors of sharing the presentation while you do the talk.
Yes, please.
Okay, great. I'll see if we can make that happen. And
Well, at least we're definitely gonna have a great talk, I swear.
exactly.
Oh yeah, that for sure.
Let's jump into it. I'll toss the mic to you, and then I'll bring up the screen if I can.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that today's space is going to be highly important to anyone listening because I would for sure recommend it to projects and founders as well as marketers, because today we're going to be talking about community, how to establish the community, how to attract people into your community, but also how to keep people inside those communities. And I would start with one of the most basic yet complex questions anyone can ask in this space, which is what makes us join a community? And I bet that many of you would say that, oh, it's a sense of, it's the desire to belong, it's the desire to be a part of a certain society. And that's true because it's one of the basic needs that we have according to the Maslow's hierarchy that basically constructs all of our psychological needs overall. And it's very important to understand that we as humans, we tend to naturally gravitate towards group, and that's why we constantly search for more and more and more diverse communities that will satisfy this need. And we also look for communities that will define who we are, because it's a part of a social identity theory, which basically tells us that we're trying to answer the question, who am I, by joining a community that will reflect that. And this theory will also show that we're trying to join a space that might feel right that might feel like we belong to, and that will reflect our values and will even mirror our identities. And in Web3 world, I think this shows up when people join DAOs, NFT projects, or ecosystems, and they're joining it not just for the utility itself, but because it reflects who they are on a deeper level. Like, think of people reaping PFPs like they're a part of a digital tribe, for example. Wonderful comparison. Love to make it every single time. And the moment when you understand how your target users are positioning themselves in terms of the chosen identity, in terms of who they want to be, who they want to position to be, to show who they are, you can craft the messaging, text, campaigns, and basically select a format according to the identity of your target users, and then make them feel like they're a part of your community. So you're basically targeting not only the feeling of belonging, but you're targeting their identity and who they are at its core. It's easier said than done because it's still hard to target everyone's sense of community and everyone's sense of belonging, since we're all different and we try our best. But we try to belong to different communities. But most of the cases that we do, they're successful and they prove themselves right when we look at the end result. And so that's my Marxist perspective and psychological perspective as well. But what I'm really curious to know is, from a KOL's perspective, Kong, what kind of messaging or vibe makes your followers pay attention and want to belong? And also another one, how do you draw people in your community as a KOL?
All right, so the followers usually pay attention if your content is quite short and clear, and especially if it's a real messaging. Let's say in that way, I can put it, because let's say TikTok and Instagram and all of these apps, they shorten the attention span of pretty much everyone. And if you, unless you write like a really long and interesting article, the chances are nobody is gonna care, nobody's gonna look. And if your text is too long, if the formatting is not right, and if you just put on like a big blob of text, so like the brain kind of like filters it out. So it needs to be short and concise, but also real, because the people that are following me now for, damn, I don't even know, it's 9 years. Some people are following me already. Um, they know exactly what is real content, what is AI slop, what is let's say a pre-written text from an agency that wants to do some promo. Um, they know that very well, and based on that, they're gonna be either paying more attention or less attention, or let's say rather in that case, no attention at all. So I feel like that makes the most important part to keep it really real, and making sure that people know your tone when you're actually talking truly, and then yeah, that's gonna reflect on how they engage, how they pay attention, and what they're gonna be saying regarding to that.
Love it,
Can I jump in there
of
quickly?
course.
Um, uh, Kong, I haven't followed you personally now. Like, how did you get into the space, and like maybe also how do you find a voice for yourself as as yourself? But this can probably also apply to brands that want to speak authentically in this space.
So I started in this space. Well, in the crypto space in general, I started in 2014. Um, bad timing. Bought a top. Thought it was a scam afterwards. Then 2016, once I was coming back to break even, I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And then that was a time of like really bit beans and funny projects, let's say, but also the time of TradingView and the TradingView community. And that's where I was reading TA, and a lot of content was about trading and TA and like this coin and that coin. So not what we see right now. And then basically, um, I saw that on TradingView there was a lot of, let's say, engagement and a lot of people liking stuff that is absolutely bonkers. So I was like, let me do my own TA and let me write the stuff that is actually happening and what I see, and just keep it easy to understand for people. And I feel like that was one of the things that I did. I mean, I was looking at other ideas as well, and then I was seeing, okay, whatever that person is writing is absolutely like, I don't want to say the word, but like out of the space, you know? And yeah, then I looked at it myself and I was like, okay, how can I look at a chart? How can I write an article that is easier to understand for people, easier to replicate, easier to break down into its core parts? And then basically that's how I started growing on TradingView. And then after a while, I just took the content from TradingView and put it onto X. And yeah, since then I'm on X every single day.
Nothing
And
more beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So especially, let's say, for brands or for anyone who is starting out, you um at this very moment the meta is honestly replying. Like, I feel like that a lot of very valuable accounts are replying a lot. Um, to be honest with you, like doing like 300 to 500 comments a day. I'm at the moment doing, I think, like an average of 200 comments a day, and that kind of is just at this very moment the meta of how you can stay relevant and how you can still achieve the numbers of engagement that you need to keep, because otherwise you just get overcrowded with too many creators and too many things. And yeah, the attention span, once again, is just very short for people. And if they don't see you everywhere they look, um you're gonna get lost. And especially for someone who is starting out new, it's important to not just copy paste from someone else, but you gotta bring in your own vibe. You gotta bring in um, your own style that people see then everywhere. And then obviously some people are not gonna like your style, but the people that do like your style, they're gonna be following you. So, and yeah, especially the combination of comments and then doing posts, because they will see your comments. Maybe your comments are a little bit edgy, maybe they're interesting, maybe they're a little bit funny. They're like, okay, who is this guy? Let me check it out. What is he posting about? Or what is that brand about? And then they check out the brand, and the posts are cool. The posts are easy to understand. They're in the same style as the comments, and they follow and stay.
It's wonderful. I think that it's incredible every single time when you see how people join a certain community or subscribe to a certain KOL based on how they feel, not what they see in particular, but how they feel. And then I've got a question to Lucas as well. Have you noticed any patterns in how and why users join new communities, new project communities? Do you have any insights on that one?
Looks like he's frozen time.
Yeah. Well, then we're gonna come back with a question later. But one of the things I also wanted to share was that it's really important to understand that when a project obtains a community, it's important to keep that community, because it's actually one of the it's one of the main problems of all of the projects who are coming to us. They usually ask for brand awareness, for the campaigns that would drive their brand awareness higher, but they do not think of how they'll keep the community that they've initially obtained. And fun fact, I recently read from the academic article that 90% of all projects lose their community lose their audience that they've gathered after a campaign, just because they have no idea how to work with the content, how to talk to that community, how to attract them to stay, and how to engage with them. And I think that we at TRB, we take it as part of our responsibility to make sure that a project knows that they have to adjust their content and customer communication strategies during a campaign and after a campaign, to make sure that the transition from a new user into a community member is as smooth as possible. And from a biological perspective, if we look at it, we not only join communities, but we also just naturally bond. And it all happens thanks to one very nice hormone in our brain, which is called oxytocin. It's the trust hormone, and it makes us, it's released during positive social interactions. Is he back? He's back.
I think so. Yes, he's back.
Yay!
So back. I tried to switch horses midstream, but that apparently wasn't a good idea.
It
Yeah,
happens.
I think I cut out once you right in the moment you were about to ask me a question, which is of course ideal. I'm back. I'm very happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, let me just finish off with the oxytocin, and I'll get back to you with the question, because I think that it's still going to be pretty useful to have the answer to that one. In regards to the oxytocin, so it's released during positive social interactions, and we can't get it any other way. And because of this hormone, we're moved to create deeper connection, and also it builds deeper loyalty. So we feel like we want to make more of that project and more for that community. And in Web3, you see that when people, for example, when they feel seen by projects, like project does comment replies or retweets or quotes, or they follow us, it's the most beautiful feeling when you see that your favorite KOL is following you back, or a project is replying to your comment and saying, yeah, hey, we got you, we see your problem, we're here to help you, here's the pain medication, we're gonna do this and that, so you don't have to worry. And what I gotta say is that as a project, if you want a user to stay and actually connect on a deeper level with you, then personalize your interactions. Like, make it about them, not about you. Stop doing simple replies like thank you or that's so nice of you, but instead imagine that when a user gives you a thought, an idea, you have to actually put in the effort to reply with another idea, so the user will look at your reply and think, hey, they've put the time and effort into it, so they care. So if they care about me, I'll care about them, and they become your community, and they become your brand advocate. And just a small thought on it as well. Our brains, they love patterns. Like, every single time we search for those patterns, because it makes our life easier, it makes us feel safe and easy to predict. And when you have rituals in your space, it makes your user feel so much more comfortable. Like say weekly AMAs or shoutouts, they will activate our brain's reward system. Like, when we're talking chemically and psychologically, this is exactly what you have to use as a project. And hence, when you implement those social rituals, your users become attracted not only to your project, but to your community. Because every single morning, for example, when you wake up, you think about going to X and you want to see a post from your favorite project or a KOL saying GM, and then you can come back to them and say GM back to you, or have a nice day. And it's incredible because it makes your followers feel like they belong. And the best advice I can give as a marketer is build predictable experiences, build rituals, build social interactions that your users know what to expect. So that's from my marketers and psychological perspective. And Lucas, I really wanted to ask you, have you ever noticed any patterns in how and why users join a project community from your expertise?
I think different reasons, right? You mentioned quite a few things. I think in general, this has changed probably quite a bit from the early days, like Kong was describing. developing, there was a lot unsubstantiated.
Yep. Is it me or is it Lucas?
I think it's Lucas again.
I'm gonna switch my internet and I'll let you guys talk for this moment, and then I'll be back. I'll I'll be
No
right.
worries. Can I ask you to share a little bit more from the user's perspective on what some of the specific things that a project might have done that made you want to keep showing up for them and advocate for them and be among their community?
For me,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. To be honest, the projects that made me wanna interact and stay and advocate for them was, let's say, just relatively fun content. Obviously, how can I say it? Um, the very backbone of all of these communities, and we have to be real about that. You need to have some kind of incentive, and most likely the incentive is bag holding, or let's say you're speculating. You're speculating that this project is going to be doing good. Now, obviously, you're like, okay, well, damn, there's a lot of good projects. Maybe another project is going to do good, but why should I stay with this project? So you need to see the vision. You need to believe that there is potential, and that this project has the potential to basically, obviously, make you some money, but um, you need to feel that, you need to see that, you need to say, okay, they're doing some fun content, they're replying, they're actually caring, they have a fun reply guy that is sometimes going viral or something, and that just makes it a little bit more fun to do so. And then, especially these projects, um those tend to be the projects that have also a bigger community. Now, once you are a creator and you are then starting to post about that project, maybe that project retweets you or comments on your stuff, and then people from the community have a look at you and then interact with those posts. And obviously, for creators, more interactions, more likes, more comments, um, is obviously really nice. So you're like, okay, nice. I'm back holding. I'm posting about it. I'm getting more interactions through that. It's a win-win. Um, yeah, and I feel like this is a thing. If you really want to, let's say, um, getting new creators that are not on your payroll, that are not on your on any list or whatever, you are building a community and you're rewarding other creators with more exposure, which obviously the value for the creators. And maybe there's some incentives or maybe there's none, and so on. So one of the coolest examples that I've seen so far about these projects was, or let's say the best examples of the projects that did the most amazing job doing so. Those were the Link Marines and the XRP Army, and then actually also Litecoin, for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm still a fan of Litecoin. Fun fact: Litecoin itself never interacted with me, but I was bag holding, and every time I was posting about Litecoin, I was getting, I don't know, 5 times the engagement. So I kept on posting about Litecoin. As easy as that. So yeah, that is sort of the way of how you can get that. But obviously, as you have a lot of projects, and a lot of projects are starting to do good content, and the community at some part is limited. It's not an unlimited community. It's not worldwide yet. We have on Twitter maybe 50,000. maybe 100,000 people that are actually on crypto Twitter active, and you're trying to grab the attention of these people. So it's getting harder and harder for projects to achieve that level, to achieve these armies of reply guys that are grading every single tweet of anyone who posts about the project. But once you achieve that level, it's invaluable.
Have you seen any good strategies of actually maintaining that? Because I think what's interesting. Hey, I'm back. Like, I think what still works is like this idea of like cults. They form around ideas, right, and like visions, right? But then it's very difficult, and it's become increasingly difficult as more and more people get burned by more and more ideas, to actually maintain that momentum and keep that engagement going. Have you seen anything that kind of both to you and Val, um, to turn this army into people that will stick around for the long run? What are some of the recipes maybe that you've seen work out?
Who
I
wants
would
to go
say
first?
I would say at this very moment, what we see the most is with meme coins, because once again you have the easiest to understand vision, the easiest to digest content, and it's funny, so people are um, naturally more interacting with that. Um, but that doesn't mean that projects with a real vision or a real working model or anything that they're doing real cannot be posting memes. Memes is a good way, and in a little fun way, especially f- on days for people that they are not, let's say, they're not so happy or they're super stressed. They're coming to X to just like decompress, and then they're bombarded with a technical paper or a super technical thing and article or a post of like this and robotics and so on, and you're like, okay, well, I I don't have the brain for that at the moment. So, but if they see a meme, if they're like, huh, nice. So that sometimes is already enough when people say, huh, nice, that they're gonna be sticking around and they're gonna be looking further into it. And that's a very fine line, especially for let's say bigger projects, because they're not they're not so crazy into memes and they're like, oh no, our branding and so on. But um it's actually a very good way to keep the community engaged and keep them all together. Um, yeah, that's my
And you
two
mentioned
cents about
Litecoin. It's a big meme account actually now, huh?
it. Yes, pretty much.
Val.
And to be honest, I mean, um, some people might say, I mean, Litecoin is a meme. It's the original meme coin. It's just a test coin for Bitcoin, basically, but people like it. People see it as silver. They like this comparison. Oh, silver to gold. Oh man. And then Litecoin itself is doing some whatever the fuck. To be honest, nobody knows. But they exist. They're there. Um, they're doing probably more than Doge. So yeah, and they have a good narrative, and they were still there. They're not drugging, and yeah, they just maintain the momentum and try to grow it a little bit, but really maintaining it.
I will say this is an interesting thing that you mentioned, right? Litecoin is silver. If your brand figures out how to say, brand XYZ is blah blah, right? That is super powerful. If you can formulate your project's idea in one sentence, or even in one word or one idea that is immediately translatable to the real world, you're winning. And if enough people sort of understand this idea and connect with it, I think that's a very interesting thing. Sorry, Val, I keep derailing this. Wanted to toss it over to you also with the same questions, of like, how do you turn this you know initial hype moment into something where people stick around, become advocates, and maybe give us some psychological insights. And also let me know if you want to go back to your presentation.
Okay, we can just forget about the presentation and go with what we have, because I think that we're still bringing a lot of value because we're talking about very important things. And what I have to say about the cults is that it's really tough to create a cult around something, to create a cult around idea, because I think that a lot of ideas are pretty complex and people are trying to make it even more complex. So they would sound either smart or incredibly huge and world changing. And that's not the right approach, I would say, as a marketer, because the best thing you can do for your target users is to present the information as simply as possible. We as humans, we tend to consume the easiest possible information because our brains are lazy, and we do not like to enjoy in complex activities, to spend time learning. That's why universities, for example, they are they take quite a lot of time to actually finish off, and studying is very hard for us as well. That's why when a project comes to us with an idea, with a request to, for example, present their brands from the best perspective, so they can attract more users, not only make them a part of their community, but also attract them to buy something, a product that they have. We usually tend to simplify things. However, when you're hyping, when you manage, for example, when we manage to get that idea off, and when we manage to attract the customers, the most important thing is then to start giving the value bit by bit by bit, because you do not want to make a consumer, sorry, I forgot the word, which is very important. Basically, it's very important to make sure that your consumer gets the information easily and also step by step, because otherwise, if you're going to bombard them with all the information, with everything that you have in your project, they're just going to leave. They're just going to understand that, hey, it's too hard, I'm not going to stay for that. But if you're targeting them with simple ideas that would also align with the feeling of belonging and with their identity, and they will realize that, hey, they are thinking like me, or I'm thinking like them, or I'm doing the same thing as they do. Only like that we can get that consumer to become a part of your community and actually attract them to stay, because it's also important. And I think that it's funny that you mentioned meme coins, I mean, because in my presentation, what I wanted to say is that I would suggest to projects who are now listening to give people the tools and language to signal, to make sure that their consumers can signal their values, because it's called the identity signaling. When you're basically trying to show off that you are standing by a project side and you're here to advocate for them, and you're on your way to make sure that everyone knows that you love that project, that you are supporting them, that that project is incredible and everybody else has to follow. And that's where memes, PFPs, slogans, or roles even, they come to show and help your users say, this is who I am, and to bring others in through shared identity. So it's very important to remember, for projects, for founders, for marketers, for anyone who is working with people, like overall. And hence, I do have a question to Lucas. Lucas, like in your experience, what sparks that
Now I think Val is cutting out.
Oh, I was so depressed, and I was like, am I cutting out again? But it
No,
wasn't.
that was Val that side.
Great.
Sorry.
I love seeing it from the other side. This is awesome. By the way, the one of the I wonder how this comes across too, right? I think it's so important for brands these days to be authentic, right? Like even fucked up live streams, right? Like I don't know. Sometimes there's always going to be people. I was like, these people, they can't figure out their tech and whatnot. I also think it's interesting. Like this is risky. Live streaming anything. Have you ever been on a Twitter stream like X Space that has not cut out, or there's been a million problems with it? Authenticity is so important. Like even just us daring to do this live instead of pre-recording it, which is easy, and we can even pretend it's live afterwards, right? But here, we get to fuck up together, just hang out, and I think be authentic. And I think there's value in it. It's very embarrassing and annoying and all of that stuff for the people that actually have to do it, but I hope it is appreciated for by people outside. And I generally think it is, because I really value that when projects and people dare doing things that are a little bit risky. But please ask the questions. I didn't quite understand it as you were cutting out, Val.
I was just hoping, have you ever noticed maybe any tactics or patterns that make that organic advocacy at the ecosystem level? And also, I would most certainly say that I agree with you about the authenticity. It's important to just show up as yourself. I mean, considering that we're living in a world of AI where everything is very easy to replicate or make sure that others think that it's you, for example, and instead of actually being yourself and spending that time to record that video and prepare that speech and then edit it all and then post, people start to use AI models and just go with the flow, and then users have no value in it, otherwise only the information that they can find themselves in the internet. So what's the point if you're not actually showing up as a human?
Agree. Forgot the question as I was fascinated by what you were saying.
I was getting back to that question. Have you ever noticed the organic, like, what are the tactics that spark that organic advocacy? What makes people advocate for the brands on the ecosystem level? Not only maybe for the projects, but what have you done to make sure that your community is unified and strong?
I think it's one of the most difficult things to maintain, especially for, let's say, I'll talk specifically for MVX for a minute, because it's an interesting thing, right? Prices go through all different cycles, and you have people are forged by fire, and being able or having a community that actually sticks around during bear markets, during downturns, when things aren't going so well, that's it's very difficult, because people are just like, fuck this shit, I'm down money, like I lost stuff, this is a scam, I'll move on. I think what's very important is to be honest and start talking about the problems and acknowledge them and make people understand that they're actually being heard. When I think what the community members sometimes don't understand, but that's not their fault, or what projects aren't communicating well enough, is like, the pain is shared. It's not like the price goes down and the leadership is like, oh, what do I care? It's like they feel this more than almost anybody else. The team is more affected by this than almost anybody else. A lot of the, let's say, even shares, like any projects, any tokens, whatever, the team often has, holds a large amount of these. So if small investors lose, big investors lose big. So I think being able to communicate that, being real about the pain, making sure this is acknowledged, and then also that there is action being taken and ideas being implemented. You mentioned this like reply guy thing, or like just brands being responsive to feedback. I think this is so important and a huge strength of projects that actually do this. We're going through some processes with governance and a bunch of changes, and if you were just like trying to force feed something changes down someone's throat, like that doesn't go over well, and it's not well received. Like what's much more effective and what makes the ideas stronger is to debate them, come together, find conclusions, find a way forward together. And I think that's something that applies to any project. The main advantage, I think, of building in public, building in the open, and building in Web3 is to be able to bring on board all of these great ideas that come from the community. So for you to listen and sit down with them and then figure out something that's actually much better than the idea that you had initially, that's where the value is. And I think that's also how you keep people engaged and enthusiastic.
Perfect. I absolutely agree and I love it. I always say, don't be selfish, share your problems because others want to be there for you and also for you to be there for them. So it's very important when a project shares what is happening behind the scenes and also lets their community either support or show that they don't agree with what they're doing, and then being able to discuss it all in public so people know that, hey, they're also struggling, but that's normal, they're human, and yet they're still working towards getting better and making that experience for us as well make better. I do have a question to Kong though. uh, do you have any markers that say to you that you as a creator succeed in what you do in terms of how
Oh,
Now
we're
she's
losing
cutting
Dom.
out again.
Oh,
Mid
she's back.
question.
This is
Can I
live.
cut out again?
If you
Yeah.
didn't believe us before, this was live. Even the fuck ups were recorded.
Okay, beautiful. Love it. Once again, do you have any markers that tell you that you as a KOL succeeded in what you do? Like a markers that your community shows? Maybe reposts or comments.
Let's say mainly the amount of comments is one of the bigger markers, because this is where you truly see that people are there, that they're engaging. Um, Obviously, the likes and the retweets don't go unseen, but uh, the active people commenting, and especially the people that are coming back every single day and they're commenting, that, to be honest, is one of the biggest things, because impressions, they go up and down depending on how viral something went. Same with the followers, follower amount. We're getting a lot of ins and outs and people taking a look, or just going multi-following this thing of like follow all like 10, 12 other accounts at the same point. And then they see your content and they're like, damn, that dude is crazy. I don't want to follow him anymore. So they unfollow. So that is not really the marker to look at. Mainly it is really comments and like meaningful comments. Um, and especially seeing the people that are showing up and either liking or commenting or retweeting, quote tweeting, whatever, um, every single day, or let's say very regularly. And then seeing that, obviously the biggest reward for creators, I believe, in this space is whenever you get a DM from a random follower, more or less, and they're saying thank you, because of you I made X amount of money. I now can afford this and that. This really helped me out. Now this is really cool. Now I understand that. Thank you very much. So that is even more valuable than the comments.
Beautifully said. Thank you. Truly. I got one last question to you both. If there's one thing that projects should start doing right now to build communities that will actually grow and as well as maybe strengthen it, what would it be?
So I would say, to be honest, start being active and interacting with your community, as we already said. And the way of interaction should be transparent. And what I always say and what I always believe, and let's say that's maybe a little bit of going into your field, well, that the community should not have an expectation mismatch. Now, this is mainly the thing that is making anyone angry or anyone disappointed or anyone leave the community and so on. It's like broken down to the core is just an expectation mismatch. You overpromise and you don't deliver, or you say, "Oh, we're this good, we're so big," and a new UI update and it looks like trash. So being transparent, but in the same way, not lying about what you're doing, and not going too crazy, not over promising things, just being like, "Hey guys, this is the way it is. This is actually the way it is. We're taking longer. I don't know. Our devs had a banter on the weekend. They're not they didn't get the stuff done, and now it's gonna take a week longer or something. So yeah, if you're that transparent and you don't have any expectation mismatch with the people, they're gonna be staying in the community and they're gonna be very happy.
Yeah, I think a lot of good things there. I think expectation management is very important, but I like also start where you started, Kong, a little bit, which is go into your community first, understand like what they want. I'm not speaking for layer ones here, of course. I'm talking like if you're a new project on Multiverse X or any other network, like go understand the community first, interact with what they want. This is already going to make your product 10 times better, your project 10 times more fun. If it's an NFT, like hang out in NFT communities. Like if it's a trading tool, interact with different trading communities. Go there, understand them, and like start interacting before you start selling anything, especially a fucking token. You probably don't need a token. Um, start like providing value. And I think this is always a lot of people, and there's a lot of inexperienced entrepreneurs in this space, of course, people experimenting, and that's great. That brings a lot of innovation. But the basic thing is, before you ever start selling anything, provide value. And if you get that, and if you build trust, and if you build a community, if you have some initial users, if you can improve whatever you're doing through the feedback that you're getting from this initial community, that's really how you 10 and 100x your product value and your project value before you try to convert the people that are in the community to paying customers, right? And that's I think something that a lot of people try to rush. But if you rush it, you'll usually get burned. Even if people initially make money, you're not standing on a solid enough foundation to turn that into something that has longevity. And I think that's, if you're a serious product owner, that's the thing you need to aim for. And so, trade this short-term stuff for something that has long-term perspective. And I think that's very important.
Totally, totally. I think that I would also add that as a project, you should focus not only on content creation, but also on the whole customer journey, starting off with thinking how your consumer will find you, and then finishing off with what your consumer will get from you, and then personalize the interactions. Because if you're not showing that you are one of us, if you're not showing that you're a part of your own community, then you're failing as a project. Because otherwise, who would want to join a community who doesn't have a leader? And that's a perfect point that I would like to make, because when you start to think about it, it changes your approach to those things, to thinking about your consumers as a part of your tribe will tremendously.
Now again.
Oh,
That's
she's
all from me today. Again?
oh man,
No.
the internet. I was gonna say, there's not, to me, there's not a lot of good reasons to move to Dubai except maybe taxes, but the internet seems to be pretty good out there. So that's definitely, I'm
At
really
least at the moment. Listen, we had the previous week, we had really like our internet was donezo because some some baboon around like Egypt or something, they were like, let us dive down to the internet cable in the Red Sea and let's just cut something there. Like, I don't know, let's doctor around. And yeah, that kind of like completely nuked the internet of this place here. And I wasn't even able to open up Telegram for like a couple of days. So um, it seems pretty handy dandy right now, but yeah.
okay. Well,
Ouch.
I think Romania actually has brilliant internet. That's where our headquarters are based, and I think best cellular network in Europe. and maybe even the world. Kong, I have a question on that just quickly, and then I also saw some audience, or one interesting audience question. If you have any more, please put them in the chat now. We'll try to touch on them quickly. What happens when a KOL goes offline for a week? Does that, like, is that something that's like, do you have to be online all the time to like maintain the trust or the connection? Is that something that really, let's say, impacts you and the community?
Yeah, 100%. If you go offline and you didn't leave any like good explanation of why you went offline, it's like unaliving yourself and for social media. That's why literally and unfortunately, but also happily, but also very weirdly, for the last 9 years, I probably haven't missed um 2 days in a row of logging in and tweeting and posting. So yeah, sometimes I believe one day or like let's say 14 hours that I missed out, but everything else been constantly online.
Crazy that you frame it as missing too.
Yeah, no, honestly, it is because if you do have a community and you're posting every single day. I mean, I'm posting right now what around 15 times a day, and as I said, I'm doing 200 comments on average every single day. Um, if you go missing, even for a day, people are gonna be like, "The fuck? What happened?" And then if you're gone for a week, as I said, the attention span is very low, and they eventually gonna start forgetting about you. Then they see you back, and they're like, "Well, you kind of disappointed us, and you left us alone for a week. We didn't know what to do now. Um, now I found someone else that I can engage and follow. So your engagement, and your community
Yeah.
is gonna be mad at you, and they're gonna be like, "Damn,
You're
So,
literally becoming their safe space, a
yeah,
space
yeah,
where they go every single time where they feel bad or they want to feel like they belong or feel comfortable and comforted and cozy as well because they know that you're always there. So I can only imagine what happens when a KOL just takes a break.
we'll do an episode on parasocial relationships, Val, one of these days.
Love
I,
it.
I have a question here. I'll bring it up and maybe I'll translate it a little bit. Um, but this is, I'm very curious, maybe what you think on this one, Kong. Like, how should projects deal with like these fudders or whatever you want to label them, but there's always like people that will stick around a community and pretend they're still sort of part of it, but they're trying to do is like tear the work down, talk shit. How do you deal with that?
Uh, to be honest, I personally deal with sarcasm, and surely, let's say some projects would say like bad for the brand to even engage with these people, but from what I've seen, that I mean, these people are loud, right? They have a strong opinion, and that strong opinion is usually um how can I say, it's being formed very very fast. In the same way, that opinion can change very fast. So if you are taking it obviously with a grain of salt, because some people are just, I don't know, high, or they just want to annoy you for no reason because they're bored. Um, that's um That's a that's the reason why if you bring in a little bit of sarcasm, and if you troll them a little bit, let's say, I feel like the greatest examples is the Ryanair X account. You have so many really so many amazingly bad comments about Ryanair. And all that they're doing, they're just trolling these people and quote tweeting their comments and making a meme out of it. And I believe McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King are doing almost the same thing, and it's working and it's funny. And then other people are like, hey, that grabs their attention. So if you can handle that still professionally, but um, bring in a little bit of fun and a little bit of memes, then more people are gonna be looking at you, and that's also gonna be a way of marketing your brand and getting the attention and getting your broader community um, to stay in and be like, hey, that's actually fun. I like how they're dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if you have any extra thoughts on this, Val. I think it's very interesting to think
I
about
do.
it the best way. Yeah.
I actually do, because I think that from a marketer's perspective, I've encountered negativity quite a few times in my career, and at first I was absolutely blown away and I had no idea how to react. But then at a time when I was working with a in a different company, my boss told me, look at it from your personal viewpoint. How can you extract the value? And that's the thing that I would love to add. For example, before you use the sarcasm, I would, as a project, maybe try to ask for a constructive feedback, because maybe they are right. They're just, those people just don't know maybe how to ask the right questions, or tell you that, hey, something is wrong with your project, but I have no idea how to explain it. So at first you have to look at it from the perspective that maybe you can get the value and actually maybe improve one of the features, or one of the customer journey paths that they are talking about. But if you realize that they're here just to give you the toxicity back, just to give you the negativity, then it's a very good point to turn that toxic matter into something funny, because psychologically it's also easier for us as humans to observe to absorb something that is framed positively, not negatively. And in that case, you're not going to make a fuss about it, but at the same time you will show that you're also a part of our community. Yes, you've got maybe weird phrasing and sometimes you're very toxic, but we still love you, and we show our support, but in our own way.
I also think defaulting to like assuming good faith is good. At some point, you see the same people, doing like have some very interesting patterns. We're like, okay, maybe we'll need to move on because that's somebody we cannot handle in like a positive way anymore. But I think that's a great point, right? Like in general, I think people mean well. And I think brands should always assume that there's something they can do better. And projects should always assume that there is a kernel of truth, even if it's delivered in the dumbest way possible, to all of this criticism, right? And then learning from it, growing through it, and maybe getting those people on board. It's like, look, you gave us this criticism. Thank you so much. Here's what we're doing to address it, or here's some fixes that we can deliver. And I think that is very valuable. We're up to the hour, so I think thank you so much for joining us. Maybe a quick reminder here on the grant program that we have with Multiverse X and TRBE. You maybe Val, you're the CMO there. Let me toss it to you.
Absolutely.
How does it work?
We've got $1.5 million marketing grants to all of the projects building on Multiverse X. So if you are in need of marketing campaigns, you can come to us and get access to the platform that we have. Considering that TRB is a matchmaking platform, we've got a platform that helps you create and execute marketing campaigns, choose and see who you're working with in terms of KOLs, oversee the entire process of creating, managing, and executing campaigns. And so that access, you get it for free for the entire year when making a marketing campaign with us. So don't be shy. Join us. At least if you have any questions, ask. We're here to.
She's gone again, but I will say that you get access to great people like Kong as well. They have a great network of a lot of KOLs. Have been in the Web2 space for 10 plus years, work with all the biggest brands there, are now expanding to Web3. I think, there's already a bunch of our projects that are in conversations. So we'll hopefully see some of these marketing campaigns executed over the next months. Yeah, looking forward to that. I hope, despite the internet troubles, apologies for that, but this is about keeping it real, that everybody who watched or who will watch got some value out of this. I think some great lessons learned. Thank you so much for your insights, Val and Kong. Thank you for taking the time to share your expertise.
Thank you
And
for inviting and giving your
Thank you
own
very much.
insights. It was incredible, I have to say.
well, yeah, we'll do something again like this. I love having these conversations here. I think a lot of good stuff comes out of it. And yeah, thank you so much. Kong, where can people find you? I see I see an at there. Where can people haunt you so to make sure that you
They
never
can they
get
can they
offline?
can haunt me on X. That's at KongBTC. I also have a Telegram group which is actually haunted. That's Kong's Jungle Room, and yeah, I do also have an Instagram which I'm not really using, but I'm planning on doing some stuff there. That's just Kong XBT at that point, and then same thing for YouTube, Kong Trading. Some funny takes sometimes, some funny explanations. So yeah.
Awesome. Val, where
Perfect.
should people learn more about TRBE and what you guys are doing?
Most certainly X. We are also on LinkedIn and we have different articles posted there because I'm trying to make my job first of all interesting because it is already, but I'm making it even more like,
Why are you on LinkedIn if
incredible
you're trying to
because
make your job interesting, ma'am?
hey, LinkedIn is incredible. Let me just say that. We have found so many great partners there. We're posting articles where we're explaining just simple things from a biological and psychological perspective. So if you're interested in how your brain works and how marketing works, how you're being sold to without you realizing, check us out. You're going to enjoy it.
Nice.
How about
That
multiverse?
Oh, well, this page that we're streaming on, all the channels. Actually, this is a very interesting thing. I think a more conscious effort will be made in the near future of playing in more arenas. There's been a lot of LinkedIn posts, if you've been noticing. I don't know if you've been noticing, Val.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, there's also going to be Instagram, TikTok, and all of that going forward. Maybe we'll also find some great KOLs that can help us spread the word there through your platform. So yeah, looking forward to that. And yeah, again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Kong. Thank you, Val. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This was a little session on marketing and communities and how to turn those into value for both the consumers and the brands. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will join us next time. For today,